is. We're very lucky we've got David back in the chair, and he's only had about 10 holidays since we last saw him. Is that right, or is it not quite up to 10?
Not quite up to 10. I've had 4 holidays. No, I've had 3 holidays this year. I'm going on my 4th on Wednesday. Right. I've been to Tenerife for New Year. I was then in the Yorkshire Dales for April, and in Peru in May. And on Wednesday, I'm off to the Lofoten Islands, which are in the Arctic Circle in Norway, on a walking holiday.
Very, very nice. Very nice. How cold will it be?
I hope it's not going to be all that cold, because I looked at the weather report a couple of days ago, and it was about 19 degrees. But I think that is a little bit unusual. But the Lofoten Islands, although they're within the Arctic Circle, they're washed by the Gulf Stream. So at least during the summer, they get a relatively mild climate.
Okay, right. And this still counts as summer, obviously.
Yes, I mean, I had hoped to go in July, and that would have given me the midnight sun. I'm going to miss the midnight sun by a couple of weeks. But I have experienced a similar phenomenon in Leningrad, or St. Petersburg, as it's now called, when I was a student. And during 2 weeks of the summer, although Leningrad or St. Petersburg is not in the Arctic Circle, they get what they're called the white nights, where it never goes dark during 2 weeks. And it's a most eerie experience.
I've been on a cruise to St. Petersburg during the summer, and I've experienced the white nights, and it completely throws you. Well, it threw me. I didn't know where I was, actually. It was amazing. So do you want to just recap your earlier life, and then we can look at what you've been doing more recently?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I originally come from Merseyside, but I don't have a Scouse accent like the rest of the family. And the reason for that is that when I was about 2 years old, we moved to the Isle of Wight, and we moved back to the northwest of England several years later. And I'm told that when we moved back to Merseyside, I had a deep Isle of Wight accent. Obviously, I've lost that as well, and I've just become pretty much a parrot. And the thing which fascinated me as a child was both photography and languages. And I became absolutely fascinated by languages. And I studied Russian and French at university, had the great fortune to get a British Council scholarship to spend a year or 10 months in what is now St. Petersburg. In those days, it was called Leningrad. And it was in the depths of, not only the depths of winter, but the depths of the Cold War. It was a pretty grim time to be there, but I wasn't studying politics. I had no particular interest in Russian politics. I was interested in Russian culture and Russian literature. And I got there and I was told to go and see a professor. And he said, "What have you come here to do?" And I said, "You tell me." And he said, "Well, I've got nothing for you to do." He said, "You're here for 10 months. There's collected works of Dostoevsky in 10 volumes. Read a volume a month, come back each month and tell me what you've read." So I have read the entire collected works of Dostoevsky in the original Russian. And please do not ask me what any of them are about, apart from Crime and Punishment. That's the only one that I remember. I remember the names of the other ones, but it was a very, very long time ago that I read them. And when I graduated from university, I used my Russian for about 5 years. First with the Central Office of Information, which no longer exists. It was the British government's publicity department, and I worked on a Russian language magazine, which was commissioned by the Foreign Office. And there was no future for me in that job, so I eventually joined the BBC. And the job that I had when I initially joined the BBC was listening to broadcasts from the Soviet Union by shortwave, finding anything which was interesting in there and translating it into English for both the BBC news departments and for the Foreign Office. And that eventually led to me being taken on to the BBC's journalist training scheme. And one of my fellow trainees was Joshua Rosenberg. And we parted ways at the end of the two-year training scheme. But he went and became the BBC's legal affairs correspondent, and I worked in the BBC World Service newsroom. Got very bored with that job after 3 years, discovered that the BBC had got an exchange arrangement with the Japan Broadcasting Corporation. I had never been to Japan, no knowledge of Japanese. I applied for the job, said I'd be able to look at the country with fresh eyes. They bought that story. They sent me out there, and I got incredibly lost in Shinjuku Station, which is a massive railway station in Tokyo, where I don't know how many railway lines go through there. It is an absolutely maze of a place. And after being in Tokyo for 3 months and trying to find my way back home, I went up the same escalator in Shinjuku Station 3 times in half an hour, just completely lost. And I turned to somebody with my incredibly bad Japanese and said, how do I get to my platform? Didn't understand the answer. So this kind gentleman turned round, he took me by the hand and he led me to my platform. And I thought, my God, you know, a man in my 30s, I can't do this. I've got to learn the language. And so I used to go to the same bar every night and sit and listen to the Japanese people talking. I had a dictionary on the counter. And after about a year, and also doing classes in Japanese, I became able to speak Japanese. And the job which I had with the Japan Broadcasting Corporation was in fact incredibly boring for a large part of the time, because I was just waiting for them to hand me scripts which needed to be rewritten in English. And I spent my time learning the Chinese characters that Japanese is written with, and eventually became pretty fluent in the language. Acquired a Japanese wife at the time. We came back to England, and 3 years later, the BBC asked me to go back to Japan, this time as a correspondent. And while I was there, I got a phone call from the producer of Around the World in 80 Days, Michael Palin's film. And they said, we need some advice on what Michael Palin can do. So I gave them some advice, and they said, would you please be his guide? So I became Michael Palin's guide while he was in Tokyo for Around the World in 80 Days. Absolutely charming person to work with, but it was only the one day, because he did actually do the journey in 79.5 days.
Well done, God.
It was absolutely amazing. And I had meant to come back home after the Seoul Olympics, because what was happening was that our correspondent, William Horsley, who was based in Tokyo, was actually spending all of his time in South Korea ahead of the Olympics. And they said, once the Olympics are over, he'll come back to Japan and you can, come back to London. During the Seoul Olympics, Emperor Hirohito became very badly ill. It turned out to be terminal illness. So they kept me in Tokyo until he died. They kept me in Tokyo until he was buried. Then the BBC decided it was going to expand the bureau in Tokyo. They were going to make it one of the 3 major bureaus. It was going to be Washington, Moscow, and Tokyo. This, unfortunately, was in 1989, which was the year that the Tiananmen massacre took place. So nobody was interested in Tokyo. Everybody was interested in China. Then the Berlin Wall fell. So everybody became terribly interested in what was happening in Eastern Europe. And in 1989, the Nikkei stock average rose to 39,000. And it was predicted that the following year it would slow down to 45,000. Actually, by the end of that year, by the end of 1990, it had fallen to 14,000.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it was the collapse of the bubble economy. So that was basically the job that I was doing in Japan, covering the collapse of the bubble economy with Gordon Brewer, who was our business correspondent, and with William Horsley. But Williams was working mainly on a book, so I was stepping in. I was many mornings on a program called Business Breakfast, which was on BBC One, and also talking to the business reporter live on the Today program. So people might have seen me if they got up terribly early in the morning, or they might have seen me, or might have heard me on the Today program saying, "Oh, by the way, while we've been talking, the Nikkei has fallen another 100 points." And in the end, I spent 5 years in Japan, came back to London, and 2 years after that, I was asked to go back again for a short time. And that was in the lead up to the BBC getting a license to broadcasting its international news channel in Japan. And part of the license conditions were we had to have a minimum of 4 hours a day simultaneously interpreted into Japanese. Because I speak Japanese, I became the editor of that language service. And I set up the translation service, and I ran it for 5 years. And like all good managers, I did myself out of a job. So the BBC...
The Americans left Japan by the time you got there. I mean, because I've just read a very good novel by the chap who wrote The Remains of the Day. It's just beyond me to pronounce his name. Kazuo
Ishiguro. He lives in Golders Green.
He was, or he lives?
No, he lives in Golders Green.
Does he now? Okay.
He does. It'd be absolutely wonderful if we could grab him for a topical talk.
Yeah, but this is the book that it's called Artists of the Floating World. And it's about the immediate aftermath of World War II, when, of course, they were occupied by America, and the struggle to come to terms with their, well, I think it was justified, they might not, vilification of their role in the war and their attitudes towards it, and the imposition of American culture on Japan. So
yes, I mean, Japan is very Japanese. It's also very American. The occupation of Japan ended in 1952.
Okay. So it was there for six years. No, 52. Yeah, 6 years. Well,
yeah,
8 years, something like that. Yeah.
But I mean, there are still a large number of American troops in Japan. There's a major base just south of Tokyo at Yokosuka, and there's a very large contingent of American troops based in Okinawa. And there
is that one of the islands?
Okinawa
is from. Was it Clint Eastwood did two very good films, Letters from Okinawa, where they raised the American that very iconic image.
That very iconic image is on Iwo Jima, which is due south of Tokyo, very far south of Tokyo. Okinawa was occupied. I mean, it was the fiercest battle between the Americans and the Japanese at the end of the Second World War. I've been to Okinawa a couple of times. Quite a few years ago now, but I mean, still 50 years after the war, they were still digging ordnance out of the the ground because there were unexploded bombs all over the place. And Okinawa was, that remained occupied by the Japan, by the Americans after 1952. It didn't revert to Japanese sovereignty until 1972. So it was 20 years longer that it was under American occupation. And there's a lot of bad blood between the native Okinawans and the Americans. But I think that, you know, the Americans, because of their large contingent of troops there, bring a lot of economic importance to Okinawa as well. So it's a...
Did you go down to Hiroshima and Nagasaki? And
yes, I've been to Hiroshima. I don't like Hiroshima at all. I suppose it's understandable that after the phenomenal destruction when the bomb was dropped there, that they had to rebuild it very quickly. But it is basically just a concrete jungle. Of course, you've got the atom bomb dome there. And what is rather distressing in many ways is when you go to the Atom Bomb Museum, which is fascinating, but every Japanese school child has to be dragged through there on a school trip. So, and they're bored. And so, you know, you've got these Japanese school kids while you're trying to look at the various things in the museum there. I much prefer Nagasaki. Nagasaki is a beautiful city. It's in a valley. It's in a river valley, an inlet from the sea, and it's where it was the inspiration for Chocho-san, Madame Butterfly. And in fact, there is a garden in Nagasaki. It's called the Glover Garden. I can't remember Glover's first name, but Glover was a Scot who went to Japan, and basically he sold them lots of arms during the 19th century, when Japan became when it opened up again to the rest of the world. And to go to the Glover Garden, it's beautiful. You're sort of looking down over the inlet, and they've rebuilt Nagasaki in a much nicer way. Nagasaki is a good memory for me, because when Mikhail Gorbachev, the president of the last president of the Soviet Union, visited Japan, there were three of us in Tokyo. There was my bureau chief, Philip Short, who had originally been a Moscow correspondent. There was Bridget Kendall, who had come across from Moscow, and there was me. And all three of us speak Russian. And naturally, all three of us wanted to get an interview with Mikhail Gorbachev. And Philip Short couldn't pull the strings, he couldn't get one. So he decided he was going to fly to Jeju Island, which is halfway, well, it's part of Korea, but it's halfway between Japan and the mainland of Korea. Because after visiting Nagasaki, Gorbachev was going to go to Jeju, and he thought, I'll get him in Jeju Island. And Bridget Kendall, she went to Kyoto, which was where Gorbachev was going to go after Tokyo, and I was sent to Nagasaki. I got the interview in Nagasaki.
Oh, yeah. Is there a photograph of you and Gorbachev?
No, there is no photograph of me and Gorbachev. The really funny thing was that I was standing next to the Moscow TV film crew, and I was chatting away to them, and the Japanese officials were saying, you know, you've got to stand behind this cordon. Must be no talking. Nobody must call out to Gorbachev. And the Moscow TV crew said, Gorby wants to talk. He won't talk to us. He won't talk to Moscow TV, but he'll talk to the BBC.
Wow.
So as he laid his wreath in the Nagasaki Peace Park and he turned round, I yelled out at the top of my voice, Mikhail Sergeyevich, parу slov для BBC, which is, Mikhail Sergeyevich is the polite way to address Mikhail Gorbachev. And parу slov для BBC is a couple of words for the BBC. He turned round, this broad smile came across his face, and he marched across me. I thought, oh my God, what am I going to ask him? Anyway, I asked him a couple of very simple questions. Moscow TV crew was filming it, so that was handed over to NHK, the Japan Broadcasting Corporation, so they could use it. And the Japan Broadcasting Corporation has got satellite news. And Philip Short was sitting in his hotel room in Jeju Island watching Japanese satellite TV.
Oh.
And he heard my voice, and he said,
oh.
Well, it began with a B. But anyway, he gave, when we met again in Tokyo, he gave me credit for actually having done it. And he didn't get his interview in Jeju Island, but I'm sure he had a nice time on Jeju Island anyway.
Did you have any lengthy conversation with Gorbachev, or was
No. He was way behind schedule, and it was, you know, what we in the business call a doorstep,
okay,
where you just grab a couple of questions and then off he goes.
Great. Did you? I remember not recently, a few years ago, I went to Pearl Harbor. I was in Hawaii, and I thought, well, I'm never going to be here again, which I'm sure is quite true. And Pearl Harbor, which was very interesting, particularly it had a very controversial American museum there with a lot of interpretations as to why Pearl Harbor occurred, but it was flooded through with Japanese. They all seem to be, well, they like Hawaii. I think Japanese people go to Hawaii quite a bit anyway.
Yeah, well, that's where my wife and I used to go for our holidays when we lived in Japan. You know, it's the Costa del Sol for the Japanese, yes. But 40% of the Hawaiian population are ethnically Japanese.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when Japan sort of opened up to the rest of the world in the mid-19th century, there was a massive amount of poverty in Japan, and a lot of Japanese emigrated. Many of them went to Hawaii. Some of them went to Peru. A large number went to Brazil, and some others went to Argentina. And there's a very big population of ethnically Japanese in Brazil. That was another interesting little job that I had, because after leaving the BBC, I got rung up by the BBC and said, we'd like you to go to Brazil for Time Watch. And the job which I had to do for Time Watch was to fly out to Sao Paulo and then across to the southwestern corner of Brazil to a place called Campo Grande, and then go by jeep for about 2 hours into, well, it's not really the wilderness. I mean, but there's a lot of jungle there, and right out into the countryside, where the Japanese lieutenant who refused to surrender in the Philippines for 27 years after the end of the Second World War.
Right, him, yeah.
He had bought himself a ranch there, and my job was to interview him. And I interviewed him for, I stayed there for about 4 days, and we talked endlessly. And basically he said, you know, they kept on coming out and saying, we've come to rescue. He said, I didn't need to be rescued. What I needed was a superior officer to come to me, to order me to surrender, because without the order to surrender,
how did it all end?
Coming in.
How did it all end for him? Did someone go out and demand he surrender? And
yes, somebody went out and he handed over his sword, and then he was taken to see President Ferdinand Marcos, who was the president of the Philippines at the time, and he handed over his sword to President Marcos, who pardoned him.
Gosh, a good ending.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he held out for 27 years after.
He held out for 27 years. Some people allege that he killed local villagers, whether he did or not. There is really no way of knowing. He certainly did kill cattle, because that's one way in which he survived.
Have you ever thought of, I know you've mentioned the marvelous 4-letter word Peru, so we're going to go on to that. Have you ever thought of writing this up and, you know, illustrating? It's a fabulous career section, isn't it?
Yeah, I did write a book when I was based in Japan, and it was translated into Japanese. It's never been published in English.
Okay. Okay.
It was called Correspondent in Wonderland.
Right.
Because Japan was a fascinating place to live, but sometimes very, very strange.
Can we move on now to your more recent journey into Peru? And I know you've got some, no doubt, fabulous photos to show us. So I wondered if we could.
Yeah, I've managed to get some of them into order. Others are in a completely random order. But what I need to explain is that my trip to Peru was organized by a company that specializes in trips to Latin America, and they also specialize in trips for alumni. I studied at Cambridge, and this was an Oxford and Cambridge alumni trip, which I'd meant to be going on in 2020. It was then postponed to 2021, again postponed to 2022, and we finally managed to get away. And it was the trip scholar who accompanied us actually started at the same college in Cambridge the year that I graduated from that college.
Okay.
Absolutely charming guy. He is an expert in animal behavior, and particularly of birds. And this was a wildlife trip to Japan, not Japan, to Peru. So let us share my screen. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, look at that.
This is the Palomino Islands, which are just off the coast of Lima, the capital of Peru. And we took a very small boat out to the Palomino Islands. And as we were going out, these guanay cormorants just flew into the air. And there were boobies and all sorts of seabirds. It was absolutely marvelous area if you are fascinated by sea life. And you can see the color of the rocks is white.
I was going to say,
that's bird poo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's guano.
Gosh.
So the smell in the area was also pretty.
So that must be like concrete after a while.
I think it probably is. Yes.
I was going to say at that photo that seeing the sky blue, and then I had no idea the fact I was looking at solidified poo. But the kind of contrast. I mean, it's a marvelous photo.
Yeah. No, it was just a wonderful experience. And it's the most northerly place where you find penguins. So we have a small penguin family here. They're called Humboldt penguins. One reason that you get Humboldt penguins or penguins in that area is the main current that comes up the western coast of Latin America past Peru and then turns west when it gets to Peru and goes past the Galapagos. It's a cold current, very cold current. As I discovered when we eventually got into the water. I haven't got a photograph of me in the water, but there are lots of sea lions there.
Oh, look.
And the boat that we were on, they provided it, they said to us, you know, please come with your swimming costume. And they provided everybody with a wetsuit and a floating vest. And we jumped in and we swam with the sea lions.
How
and my God, even with a wetsuit on, the shock of jumping into that water was pretty strong.
How did the sea lions respond to these people? Oh, they must be used to it, I suppose.
They were quite happy. What we were told was to point our feet towards the sea lions, and they might come and sort of poke their nose at our feet. I'm kept back when I saw their teeth. I wasn't too keen on having them possibly nibble my toes.
I like the one on the left up there. I don't know whether he's falling off or quite what that one's doing.
No, I think that he's probably just climbing out of the water. They are very agile. I mean, the difference between sea lions and seals is that sea lions can turn their flippers, like this one on the left, and use them as feet.
Oh, right. Okay.
So their back flippers can be used as feet. So they're actually quite agile. Then we left Lima, and we flew to Cusco, which was the capital of the Inca Empire in Peru, and Cusco is very high up, and they recommend that you don't spend your first night in Cusco because you're quite likely to get altitude sickness. So they took us over a pass, and unfortunately they decided that, well, in one way, unfortunately, in another way, fortunately, because otherwise I wouldn't have had this experience. What I have got here is a 3-month-old condor. It's a rescue condor. So it was actually very friendly with people. How on earth they're going to release it back into the wild, I've absolutely no idea. But its neck feathers were so beautifully soft. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And he was the bird was just very happy to go and nuzzle up to people. I was very interested in my camera, also very interested in other people's pockets and their handbags. Nobody had anything stolen, but what was amazing was, you know, condors are birds of prey, but I was able to put my finger in his beak, and it was just sort of gently nibbling away and making no attempt to
do they have
rip my
any
finger
colour on them? Because it looks rather grey.
They are grey. That is the colour of a condor. I mean, this is a 3-month-old baby. They grow absolutely massive. The only problem that I had there is that the place where the condor was is higher than Cusco. So I was beginning to feel the effects of altitude sickness. But fortunately, we went pretty quickly from there down into the Sacred Valley. I haven't got photographs in the Sacred Valley. I mean, I took more than 1,000 photographs, so I'm only showing you a small selection of them. From the Sacred Valley, we went up to Machu Picchu, and Machu Picchu is it's jaw-dropping. It's like going to the Grand Canyon. I went to the Grand Canyon many years ago, and you know, I'd seen it on TV, I'd seen it in movies. It's never quite what you expect. You know, you see it in real life, and Machu Picchu is exactly the same. And we were incredibly fortunate. We got to Machu Picchu. We were booked into an afternoon slot. Apparently, it had been raining all morning. We had just very low cloud, but the weather was absolutely perfect.
Oh, look at that.
It is just so wonderfully preserved.
Why? How come it is so preserved? I mean, well, can you just talk a little bit about the history of Machu Picchu?
Yeah, well, they were building it, and it was at the time of the conquistadors arriving in Peru, and I think that they deliberately put it in a very inaccessible place. But unfortunately, the Peruvian, the Spanish conquistadors, they defeated the Incas, and so they just abandoned it. And because it was abandoned, and because it's in such a high up place, I don't know what it is in feet, but it's about 2,400 meters above sea level, and it's in a very, very steep, tall mountain. How on earth they got all the stones up there, I don't know. But then the forest around it just grew, and it became completely lost. And it was an American who found it earlier this century, and then they've decided to open it up to tourists. But because it had been hidden for centuries, nothing has happened to it. So it is beautifully, beautifully preserved.
I have been to an exhibition, possibly at the British Museum, maybe somewhere, about Incan gold. There was a lot of gold, wasn't there?
Yes, I mean, they sent a lot of the gold to Spain to be melted down. But apparently, to make the gold shine, it was amalgamated with copper, and I can't remember what else it was amalgamated with. So actually, the quality of the gold that was sent to Spain and melted down was not all that good. But obviously, the gold which they had and the artifacts. We went to a museum in Lima where we saw some of the artifacts, some of the gold artifacts, and they're absolutely stunning. But this is a view on the road going up to Machu Picchu. I mean, it is in such an inaccessible place. And there's a sort of general view of it.
What were the inhabitant numbers? I mean, it's impossible to tell whether that's very big. It tends to not, to me, look not that enormous, but...
No, it isn't all that big. But I mean, we were there for 3 hours, and it took 3 hours to walk around it. I mean, obviously, we were stopping and talking about things and being explained various things. But you can see there is the river down below, and it's just so high up above the river. And behind it is another mountain called Huayna Picchu, and they had started building on top of Huayna Picchu when they abandoned the whole place. So they were obviously sort of one reason that they built very high up was because the Incas were great astronomers, and they believed that the gods were in the stars.
Okay.
So the closer they were to the stars, the closer they were to the gods.
Were they all taken into captivity by the Spanish?
No, I mean, there's one of the guides that we had, although he's got a Spanish name, he's half Inca. Very large proportion of the population, particularly inland, away from the coast, they've got Inca heritage.
Are these hares or rabbits? I don't know. I can't tell the difference.
They're
But...
chinchillas.
Oh, they're chinchillas. Oh, yeah.
They are chinchillas in Machu Picchu.
Lovely colouring, isn't it? The fur.
Baby chinchilla in the background.
Yeah.
And mum and dad in the foreground.
Rather inhospitable terrain for them, but
yeah. Well, we found quite a few chinchillas, and there are. I haven't got photographs of them in this selection, but there are quite a lot of llamas wandering around Machu Picchu. They help to keep the grass short. Is
it correct that there are loads of, I don't know, in Machu Picchu, but in Peru, lots of guinea pigs who are also who are like, I don't know what.
Well, they're eaten, yeah.
Yeah, like chickens here or something for food. I mean, they're eaten.
Yes, we had a meal where everything was cooked underground. I haven't got the photograph of it, but we've got we had guinea pig as well. They got the roast guinea pig out of the ground and chopped it up for us. Lots of bones. Tastes quite nice. As you say, it's sort of rather like chicken.
Oh, isn't that marvelous? Well done, gosh.
This is a place called Maras, and they are these are salt pans, and basically you've got an underground spring that goes through a cavern which has got salt in it. And so the underground spring, when it actually comes out to the surface, is salty water. And so because they get a lot of sun there, they've created these salt pans, and they gather the salt from there. This is in the Amazon rainforest. As I say, it was a wildlife tour. We went into the Amazon rainforest, which was the last part of our trip. This particular bird is called an anhinga. We saw lots and lots of wildlife while we were down there. What was incredible, I mean, this bird was on the river. So as we were going along the river in our boat, very easy to see, but a lot of the wildlife is pretty much impossible to see unless you've got a guide, because the guides have got absolutely brilliant knowledge of the local wildlife, where they're likely to be, what to look for the movements in the trees and so on. Now,
just to go back to that previous one, did you ever see that bird with its neck extended? Because it looks like it had quite a bit of neck that was folded over.
Yes, it does extend its neck, but most of the time it sort of keeps it like that when it's resting. This was an amazing find. These are a pair of owls. They are burrowing owls, and this photograph was taken with a long zoom lens, and I've cropped it quite a lot. How our guide managed to see these owls as we were going quite a fair speed along the river, I've no idea, because it just looked like the two of them, when we first saw them, were actually together. I'm not sure if I've got the photograph of them together. Yeah, here they are together. So they just look like part of the log sticking up. But when they moved apart, we could tell, oh yes, they're definitely owls.
Oh, that's wonderful, isn't it?
And this is a family of capybaras. We originally saw them on the bank of the river, but whether they were concerned about some animal behind them. I don't know, but they decided to go into the water. And that lurking in the water there is a caiman.
Oh, really?
There is the head of the caiman.
Oh.
And it's quite long. It's a couple of meters long.
Incredible eye looking out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's where we saw the caiman. We were walking on an island. This is the group that I was with. There's our leader with the expert in birds. And I think that is a cormorant, which was just about, well, it wasn't about to take flight. It was just stretching its wings.
I can't remember where I was, possibly in China, I don't know, where the fishermen used to have cormorants and they put a ring round their throat, and these I think they were cormorants, used to dive for birds, but they couldn't dive for fish, but they couldn't swallow, and then would the fish, because they had a ring around their neck, and they would then regurgitate the fish for the fishermen. But I can't remember where we were.
Well, they do that in Gifu Prefecture in Japan.
Okay.
It's called ukai because the trying to think, is u the name of the fish, or is it the name of the bird? But it's sort of rather because it's which sort of is rather like the regurgitating of the fish. That's the type of canoe, motorized canoe, that we went up and down the Tambopata River in.
Were there any people living, because I've been up in the Amazon near, near the Rio Negro, you know, where the two rivers go side by side. And there were a lot of indigenous groups living, I suppose, subsistence living on the shores of the Rio Negro. I don't know if you came across any there.
No, we were in a nature reserve, so there's nobody living there.
Okay.
This is a very bad photograph of something extremely unusual to see. It is a fuzzy photograph of a furry animal. That is a jaguar walking along the riverbank.
Gosh.
And how one of our group managed to see it from a very, very great distance, I've no idea. I'm very disappointed with that photograph, but to prove that I did actually see a jaguar, there is a photograph which was taken by another member of our group with a much better, longer lens than I had. But our local guide there, I think it's the only third time he's ever seen a jaguar in his life. So we were only there for a few days. We saw a jaguar.
Are they the fastest of animals, the jaguar? Are they the equal?
No, I think it's the cheetah which is the fastest.
Oh, cheetah, that's right.
These are leaf-cutting ants in procession.
Oh, look at that.
They've cut the leaf. There is a small ant guarding the leaf, and then a bigger ant taking it along. And this was featured in David Attenborough's 7 Worlds, 1 Planet. It's a clay lick. And these are macaws. They gather there every morning, very early in the morning, and they lick the clay, which gives them sort of the right type of minerals which they need to keep themselves healthy. But
fantastic colours it looks. Yeah. Are they noisy?
Very.
Yeah, I associate macaws with noise.
Now, this is where you need a local guide. This is a photograph of a pair of macaws.
Oh, really?
Can you see the macaws?
No, I can't.
I know where they are, so I can see them. They're
I can see them.
They're there.
Oh, Richard, well done.
They
Oh,
are
there
there.
they are. Well done. Well spotted, Richard. Oh, look at them. They're tiny dots. Oh, yeah.
There they are. Close up.
Hmm. Do they always stay in pairs?
Yes, apparently they're monogamous. They pair for life. And this pair, you know, we were standing there for ages. It was on the other side of the river that they were, and they were just sort of chilling out. They were watching life go by.
Oh,
I don't know what this is, but it was a nocturnal mammal that we came across on one of our wanders through the forest.
amazingly long tail. I presume that's its
Yeah,
tail.
it's its tail, a very long tail.
Huh.
This, these two birds are called hoatzin, and they're described by my guidebook as prehistoric. Now, what was the expression they used? Prehistoric. What's the word for cattle? Anyway,
Is it kind?
yeah, I mean, basically, they look rather prehistoric, and like cattle, they've got two stomachs. They're ruminants, but they're birds.
Oh.
They're absolutely really weird birds.
And they lay eggs, presumably, and sit on nests and things.
Oh yes, yes. This was somebody who came to greet us for breakfast one day.
Oh, look at that.
And that is my favorite photograph.
Oh.
That is a sword-billed hummingbird. And its bill is so long that when it comes to rest, it has to hold its head up backwards because otherwise it'd topple over.
What tree or plant is it sitting on? I wondered for those intriguing
I don't know what type of tree, but that's some sort of moss which is growing on the tree.
Gosh. Do you hear the hummingbird when you're near? Can you hear them humming?
No. I think that they're called hummingbirds because it's the sound of the wings.
Okay.
I mean, you hear the wings beating if you're very close to them.
Beautiful photo.
This was a wonderful place. This was in the Sacred Valley. This was as we came back from Machu Picchu. And we went to a place which was very, very difficult to find. Fortunately, our guide knew where to find it. And we arrived there just as dusk was falling. And the birds, there were lots of special feeders around for the birds. And they would come in, they would feed at the feeders and then go off and nest for the night. But we just had hummingbirds everywhere. It's absolutely fantastic. But this guy is my favorite. We're back in the Amazon rainforest. This is a woodpecker, and my God, he was banging away like hell. And another bird. I've no idea what type of bird it is.
Are they looking for insects inside when they're woodpecking? I mean, what are they doing it for?
Yeah, what they do is they bang the tree, and the idea is they force the insects out.
Okay. And then eat them. So it's a
Yes.
no-win situation for the insect.
No win situation for the insects whatsoever. So that's my pretty pictures of a very small selection of my pretty pictures from Peru.
Oh, they're just marvelous. Was there anywhere else in Peru you did you, I know there's a lot of national dress and a lot of all that. Did you see any of that, or you just really confined it to Machu?
Yeah, I mean, when we were in Cusco, we saw a little bit of people in national dress, but it felt very much as though it was not necessarily people who were dressing that way, because
No,
that's the way they normally dress.
well, it's a tourist thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
But Cusco is a lovely city. It's quite small, or at least the center part of it is small, and so it's easy to walk around. It's very, very pleasant.
Is it in jungle at all? I mean, is it very humid there?
No, Cusco is very high up.
Yeah,
it's nearly 4,000 meters. So I mean, we were there in May, which is late summer, early autumn, as far as Peru is concerned, because it's just below the equator. In Cusco, you wander around quite easily in shirt sleeves. I wandered around everywhere in shorts. The only thing was, when we went into the Amazon rainforest, we were advised no shorts, to wear long trousers and to wear long sleeve shirts. And I was a good boy. I did that for every day except the last day.
And you got eaten alive.
I got eaten alive because the women who were with us, they were wandering around in shorts, and they were wandering around with short sleeve shirts. And I thought, well, if I plaster myself with the industrial strength anti-mozzie stuff, which I brought from England, I'll be okay. No way. They got me all around the top of my socks.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, very painful for about a week afterwards.
I don't know if anybody wants to ask David any questions. I mean, it's just been a jaw-droppingly wonderful photographic journey. Anybody got any? Because we just got a few minutes left. Not that, I think we got 1 minute left. But Richard, did you want to say something?
Well, I wondered, did you, in your Peru trip, the Machu Picchu, did you actually walk the trail?
No, we didn't walk the trail. I mean, one of the things which I would love to have done was to walk the Inca Trail. And I was also rather disappointed that we didn't walk up from the village where the train. So we went by train from Ollantaytambo to, it used to be called Agua Calientes. It's now been renamed Machu Picchu Pueblo. And we got the bus from Machu Picchu Pueblo to Machu Picchu itself. And I thought, oh, this is a shame. Once we got in the bus and we're going up the hairpin bends for half an hour, I realized that if we'd actually walked up to Machu Picchu from Machu Picchu Pueblo, it would have taken us at least 3 hours, and we would have been completely shattered and wouldn't have been able to enjoy Machu Picchu when we got to the top.
Well, because we did the trail, which was 4 days.
Yeah.
And it was very hard. But quite something to arrive over the top of Machu Picchu. Very sort of spiritual arrival.
Yeah, I think that would be absolutely wonderful. I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of walking. I'm going on this walking holiday to Norway in a couple of days' time. Whether I would be able to do the Inca Trail at my age, I don't know. I'd like to think
yes,
I could.
I wasn't much younger than you when I did it. That was a few years ago, not many years ago. Anyway, beautiful. I mean, your photos are extraordinary.
I think, David, we can't let you go. Well, we can let you go tonight, but I think future trips, future photos, you're going to be a regular in conversationist, because the photography is just stunning, and the wildlife, and it's fabulous, fabulous.
Well, what I'm hoping is that I will eventually get round to sorting out the more than 1,000 photographs that I took.
Right.
Can I just ask, you showed us those two macaws hidden in the trees.
Yeah.
And then them close up. Were you at the same point? Were you using a telephoto lens, or had you got closer by then?
No, that's the telephoto lens. I mean, what I've done is I've cropped the photograph.
Still,
it's the same.
To have that clarity, you must have a fabulous lens. I mean, is it quite heavy?
Yes. I mean, that's one thing which I'm a little bit concerned about with going to the Lofoten Islands next week, or this week, because the camera, if I take that camera, is quite heavy. I mean, I think that the lens itself weighs about 1.5 kilos, and the camera is about 0.5 kilo. So it's 2 kilos for the camera and the lens. But the Lofoten Islands have got lots of sea eagles, and I would love to take photos of the sea eagles. So I think I'll probably take it with me, but not necessarily every day when we're out walking. Do
you take photos, Richard, on your holidays? Are you a good photographer?
Yes, but nowadays I'm afraid I take them on the what's it called? Telephone. That's the thing. It's so convenient because you take a photo and you can instantly send it, and it automatically gets recorded. It's all so easy, and for most of what I take, it's good enough. But you can't get those telephoto shots. You don't get the artistry.
Well,
I mean, that photograph that I took of the hummingbird was taken. The bird was only maybe 2-3 meters away from me, but it was taken with a telephoto lens.
Oh wow, it was gorgeous. That really gorgeous. Have you been to Angkor Wat? Because that's another wonderful. No. But that's in the jungle. It's jolly hot and sweaty. But again, it's been hidden for so many centuries, and then you come across it. So, well, how can I don't know what to say except thank you so much for coming back. And well, as I say, I have no intention of letting go of you. I think you're our resident. Well, other people must say that Mike Jacobs and it's different photography. I mean, there is some wonderful talent around, but your photos really are absolutely brilliant. So enjoy it. It's Sweden you're going to, is it?
No, Norway.
Norway, okay.
Lofoten. Everybody thinks I'm going to the Falkland Islands. I don't know why.
It sounds like it. Say it quickly, but it's not. But thank you so much. And as I say, you'll have to give me an itinerary of your trip so that I can make sure we get you back,
Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I think that by the 5th, in other words, by Friday or Saturday, I should know whether I'm going to Bhutan this year or not.
Oh, wonderful.
That is another trip which has been postponed for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's why so many are coming so thick and fast this year, because things have just opened up, and there are things which have been postponed year after year after year.
Well, Bhutan is meant to be another phenomenal, phenomenal place to visit. So thank you very much. Have a safe and productive holiday. And we look forward to seeing you back in the chair with more photos, maybe after Bhutan. So
okay, and we'll try to advertise the next one a little bit more in advance, so people. Anyway, we've got the recording. I'll put this on the website.
Absolutely, and a very happy holiday to everyone who's plugged in. So, and see you. We've got Eric Wilton, who's going to be my next guest in September, but there will be a lot more notice so that can sort of let people know about that. Thank you very, very much, David.
My pleasure.
Terrific.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Neng.
And thank you, Neng, our technician, our invisible technician who does all the recording and everything. Thank you very much indeed, Neng. Thank you. Bye-bye.